Have you ever imagined what it would feel like to move through life completely untouchable? To have criticism slide off you like water, to face rejection without it carving a hole in your chest, to witness betrayal and feel your inner foundation remain absolutely solid. The common belief is that this kind of unshakable peace comes from building higher walls, from becoming harder and more indifferent. But that belief is a trap. True, lasting strength isn't forged in avoidance. It's born in the very fire you've been running from. Every time you've dodged a difficult feeling, every time you've suppressed a painful memory, you've only been adding kindling to a fire that will eventually consume you. The Stoics understood a profound truth. The path to freedom leads directly through the obstacle. The pain you're desperate to escape is, in fact, the very chisel that can carve you into an unshakable being. So, are you ready to stop hiding and start the real work of becoming the most resilient version of yourself? If that call resonates, consider subscribing, because this path of radical self-confrontation isn't for everyone. It's for those who are ready to rise from the ashes of their own suffering, transformed. For most of your life, you've probably been taught that your suffering has an external source. The insult that stung, the lover who left, the friend who lied. It's easy to point a finger and say, "They did this to me." But this perspective, while comforting in its simplicity, is a fundamental lie that keeps you enslaved. The uncomfortable reality is far more liberating. The actions of others are merely the spark. Whether that spark ignites a wildfire inside you depends entirely on what fuel you're carrying. It's not the insult that cuts you. It's the unhealed wound of inadequacy it lands on. It's not the betrayal that breaks you. It's the pre-existing crack of mistrust you've been ignoring. Two people can face the identical storm. One is shattered, the other strengthened. The difference isn't the storm. The difference is the landscape within. If a comment triggers you, it's because it touched something inside you that's still raw, still unresolved. Pain only maintains its grip on you when it yanks you back into past wounds you've never fully processed and integrated. The truth, however difficult to hear, is this: no person and no event can truly injure you without your subconscious permission. The power of the external world is the power you delegate to it. The foundation of reclaiming your emotional sovereignty lies in this single shift in perception. Carl Jung, a deep explorer of the human psyche, offered a powerful lens through which to see this. I am not what happened to me, I am what I choose to become. Your history is not your identity. Your experiences are not your essence. What happens to you is raw material. What you choose to build with it is your life's work. Your strength isn't found in constructing an impenetrable fortress against the world. It's found in the courageous act of turning inward, facing the shadows in the basement, and transforming them into a source of light. Most people spend their existence trying to outrun their pain. They fill their lives with noise, distractions, and new relationships, all in a desperate attempt to keep the past pinned down. But it's like holding a beach ball underwater. The energy you use to keep it submerged is immense, and the moment your arms grow tired, it explodes to the surface with twice the force. The pain you ignore doesn't disappear. It goes underground, where it quietly begins to control your decisions, your reactions, and your entire life from the shadows. The only way to release its grip is to stop pushing it down and instead let it rise, acknowledge it, and finally ask it what it has come to teach you. Be honest with yourself for a moment. Think back to a recent time you felt deeply hurt. Was the pain truly caused by what the other person did, or was it that their action awakened a fear you've carried for years? A fear of abandonment, a sense of unworthiness, a belief that you're not enough. The external event was just the trigger. The ammunition was already inside you. This awareness is the key that unlocks the cage. Once you see that your suffering is an inside job, you realize that you are also the only one who can end it. The goal is not to control the world, to make it bend to your will so it never offends you again. That's a fool's errand. The goal is to clear out the internal landmines so that when the world lobs its grenades, they land on solid ground and simply don't go off. Feeling pain doesn't make you weak. The true weakness is the refusal to look at it, the constant running, the pretense that it isn't there. The real strength, the unshakable kind, lies in the courage to sit with your pain, to dissect it, to understand its origin, and to let it become your teacher. This is how you transform from a victim of circumstance into the author of your own existence. You stop being a reactor and start being a responder. You become someone who chooses their state of being, regardless of the external chaos. Have you ever considered that your relentless suffering might be fueled by a secret belief that you can actually control the uncontrollable? You try to manage everyone's perception of you. You try to orchestrate outcomes to guarantee your safety. You try to perfect yourself to become immune to rejection. But this very need for control is the engine of your anxiety. It's the source of the constant tension humming beneath the surface of your life. The world doesn't hurt you nearly as much as your rigid expectations of it do. You build a perfect picture in your mind of how things should be, how people should treat you, how events should unfold, and then life, in its messy, unpredictable glory, inevitably shatters that picture. The pain you feel isn't the shattering, it's the sharp edge of the broken pieces of your own expectation. It's the war between what is and what should be, and as long as you wage this war, you will always be a casualty. Imagine for a moment laying down your arms. Imagine fully accepting that you cannot control the actions of others, the turn of events, or the hand the universe deals you. What would be left? The answer is everything that matters. You would be left with your own power, the power of response. Epictetus, the great Stoic philosopher, distilled this wisdom into a simple, life-altering truth. We cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond to them. The pain doesn't come from the event. It comes from your reaction to it. The freedom you crave isn't found in a world that finally behaves itself. It's found in a mind that no longer demands it. This isn't about becoming passive or ceasing to care. It's about releasing the death grip of illusion. It's about shifting your energy from fruitlessly trying to manage the outside world to masterfully governing your inner world. You stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "What is this asking me to become?" The moment you accept that life will not always go your way and that this is perfectly okay, you begin to breathe. The tension of unmet expectations dissolves. You are no longer at the mercy of the unpredictable. You become the master of your own peace. This shift is seismic. It moves you from a life of reaction to a life of creation. The first step is simple awareness. Notice when the need for control kicks in. Feel the tension in your shoulders, the knot in your stomach. When things deviate from your plan, that's the signal. Instead of fighting the deviation, practice accepting it. Take a breath and remind yourself, I don't need this to be different to be okay. I can handle what comes. This small act of release is like cutting a string that was pulling you taut. You begin to experience a freedom you may never have known. The freedom of being anchored not to a specific outcome, but to your own unshakable self. You are not the circumstances of your life. You are the awareness that witnesses them and the will that chooses the response. Why do certain words or actions from others land with such devastating force? Why does one critique haunt you for days, while another you can barely remember? The answer lies not in the words themselves, but in the internal wounds they resonate with. Think of your psyche as a complex web of threads. Where you have healed, the thread is strong and smooth. Words and events slide right off. But where you have unhealed trauma, the thread is frayed, raw, and sensitive. When something touches that frayed thread, the vibration is intense and painful. The person who hurt you is just the one who happened to pluck the string. The string was already broken. The insults, the rejections, the betrayals, they are not attacks. They are revelations. They reveal the parts of yourself you have neglected, denied, or repressed. They are mirrors reflecting back the shadows you refuse to look at directly. You might protest, but they did this to me. And yes, people are responsible for their actions. But your emotional reaction is your responsibility. If your sense of self-worth is a fragile house of cards, any gust of wind will knock it down. The goal is to build a foundation so deep and true that no external wind can dong-yow it. This is not about blaming yourself for being hurt. It's about empowering yourself to heal the source of the hurt. The power others have over your emotions is a loan you have given them, secured by your own unresolved pain. The path to reclaiming that power is a journey inward. What have you been avoiding? What memories make you flinch? What emotions do you reach for a drink, a screen, or a distraction to escape? Those are the wounds that need your attention. They are not your enemies. They are the parts of you that have been crying out to be healed. True strength, the kind that makes you untouchable, is not built by fortifying your walls. It's built by integrating your shadows. It's the courage to descend into your own personal underworld and face the monsters you've locked away. We all have them. Parts of ourselves we're ashamed of. Past experiences we've tried to erase. Emotions too painful to feel. But these repressed parts don't disappear. They become the ghosts that haunt our relationships, our choices, and our self-perception. The longer you deny a wound, the more power it accrues. It becomes the invisible hand steering your life toward more pain, more situations that mirror the original injury in a desperate, unconscious attempt to finally be seen and healed. The only way to break this cycle is to stop running, turn around, face the darkness. When you do, something remarkable happens. The monster you feared often shrinks in the light of your awareness. It loses its terrifying power. You see it for what it really is, not a demon, but a wounded part of you that simply needs to be acknowledged, accepted, and comforted. Healing isn't about making the pain disappear. It's about changing your relationship to it. It's about saying, I see you, I understand why you're here, and I'm not afraid of you anymore. When you stop fighting your inner world, you stop being controlled by it. You are no longer a prisoner of your past, reacting from a place of fear and defensiveness. You begin to respond from a place of wholeness and self-acceptance. Your wounds become a source of wisdom, not weakness. They become part of your story, but they no longer dictate the plot. So what does it truly mean to be untouchable? The popular image is someone cold, aloof, unfeeling, a statue unaffected by the rain. But that's not strength, that's numbness. That's a different kind of prison. The real meaning of untouchable is not the absence of feeling, but the presence of unshakable self-knowledge. It's not that nothing can hurt you. It's that when something does, you know exactly who you are, and that knowledge is an anchor that no storm can move. This state is achieved not through building walls, but through achieving wholeness. It's about integrating every part of your experience, the light and the dark, the joy and the sorrow, the strength and the vulnerability, into a single, coherent, and authentic self. We are conditioned to believe that to be strong, we must be flawless. We try to amputate the parts of ourselves we deem weak, broken, or ugly. But this self-mutilation doesn't make us stronger, it makes us hollow. The more we reject parts of ourselves, the more fragile we become, because our identity is built on a lie of perfection that is constantly under threat of exposure. True strength lies in authenticity. It lies in the radical act of looking at yourself, every messy, imperfect, shadowed part, and saying, "This is who I am. I accept all of it." That acceptance is your shield. It's not a shield of steel that deflects everything. It's a shield of light that illuminates everything, leaving no shadow for an attack to hide in. When you are whole, you have nothing to defend. When you know your worth isn't contingent on external validation, no one can grant it or take it away. This is the paradox at the heart of Stoicism. True strength comes from embracing vulnerability. It comes from being so securely rooted in your own truth that you can remain open to life's full spectrum of experiences, the highs and the lows, without being swept away by them. When you integrate your pain, your fears, and your flaws, they stop being liabilities and become part of your foundation. They give you depth, empathy, and an unshakable understanding of your own humanity. You become untouchable not because nothing can penetrate you, but because your sense of self is no longer located on the surface where it can be easily grazed. It's anchored in the core, a place of profound peace that remains undisturbed by the turbulence on the surface. Most of humanity lives on autopilot, doesn't it? We wake, we react, we sleep, we repeat. We feel flashes of anger, waves of sadness, pangs of anxiety, but we rarely stop to ask the most important question: why? Where is this feeling really coming from? This lack of self-awareness is the foundation of our suffering. It keeps us trapped in repetitive patterns, making the same mistakes, falling for the same types of people, triggered by the same old wounds, without ever understanding the mechanism. Carl Jung called this hidden operating system the unconscious, and he warned that it's not a passive storage unit. It is an active, dynamic force that directs our lives. He said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." Think about that. The parts of yourself you don't know, the wounds you haven't healed, the fears you haven't faced. They are the ones writing your life's script. Every time you overreact, every time you self-sabotage, every time you feel an emotion that seems wildly disproportionate to the event, your unconscious is at the wheel. It's not fate, it's forgotten history repeating itself. These eruptions are not random glitches, they are messages. They are the unconscious banging on the door, demanding to be let in, demanding to be seen. The panic attack that seems to come from nowhere, the irrational jealousy, the sudden flash of rage at a minor inconvenience. These are your inner world screaming for your attention. If you keep ignoring the screams, they will only get louder, manifesting in more destructive ways until you are forced to listen. The path to freedom, then, is the path of making the unconscious conscious. It's the painstaking work of shining a light into the basement of your psyche. It's about tracing your reactions back to their root. Why does this particular comment make me feel so small? Why does this situation make me feel so panicked? The answer is always, always, waiting for you in your own history. This excavation requires immense courage. It means willingly opening doors you've bolted shut. It means feeling feelings you've spent a lifetime avoiding. But on the other side of that courage is liberation. Because once you see the strings, you can no longer be controlled by them. The puppeteer is revealed, and you can cut the strings and take control of your own movements. You stop being the victim of your own mind and become its master. You start living with intention, not just reacting by rote. Strength, as we've been taught, is a lie. We're told it's about pushing through, ignoring the pain, and never showing weakness. But that version of strength is brittle. It's a wall that cracks under pressure. The strength that endures, the strength that is truly unshakable, is supple. It's resilient. It's born not from resistance, but from acceptance. It's the strength that comes from having the courage to feel your pain fully, to sit in the discomfort and to learn its lessons. As Jung also observed, what you resist not only persists, but will grow in size. The energy you use to push your pain away is the very energy that feeds it. It's like trying to fight a shadow. The more you struggle, the more entangled you become. But the moment you stop fighting, the moment you turn and face the shadow, you realize it has no substance. It was only fearsome because you refused to look at it. The journey to unshakable strength is a dive into the deep end of your own being. It's about accepting the full, messy, beautiful, and broken reality of who you are. It's about realizing that you are not your pain. You are the one who feels the pain. You are not your fear. You are the one who witnesses the fear. There is a core you that is separate from all these passing storms. And that core you, when uncovered and accepted, is utterly untouchable. When you know yourself at this level, the world loses its power to define you. You stop seeking approval because you have self-approval. You stop fearing rejection because your value is not on the ballot. You stop being crushed by loss because you know that while things can be taken from you, your essential self cannot be taken. As you walk this path of integration, of self-acceptance, of making the unconscious conscious, you will begin to notice a profound shift. The things that once devastated you now become data. The people who once controlled your emotional state now become teachers. You are no longer a leaf blown about by the wind. You are the mountain, solid and aware, around which the wind simply blows. Nothing and no one can hurt you anymore, not because you've become cold and hard, but because you've become whole. Your peace is no longer a fragile flower to be protected. It is a deep, underground spring that cannot be poisoned or drained by anything on the surface. This is not a destination you arrive at and then declare victory. It's an ongoing practice, a daily discipline of returning to yourself, of observing your reactions, of choosing your response. Every challenge becomes an opportunity to strengthen your inner citadel. Every painful emotion becomes a messenger from a part of you that needs integration. You no longer live in fear of life. You live in partnership with it. You understand that the obstacle is truly the way, and the pain you once ran from was all along the path to becoming the person you were always meant to be. Your true strength was never in building walls. It was in having the courage to tear them down and discover the unshakable self that was always there, waiting to be found. This is the promise of the Stoic path. Not a life without pain, but a life where pain has no power over you. A life where you are the sole author of your peace. A life where you are untouchable, not because you are immune to the world, but because you are finally, completely, and unapologetically at home in yourself. If this exploration of inner strength has struck a chord with you, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to Stoic Mindset Mastery for more wisdom on navigating life with resilience and purpose. The journey inward is the most important journey you will ever take. Thank you for walking a part of it with me today.